All right.
All righty.
Good to go?
Yep,
Yes.
you're all good.
All right. Well, hey, everyone, thank you so much for your flexibility. I know we're meeting remotely, pure remotely, for the first time in my tenure with the DAC. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility, willingness to still connect, keep working on our important work together. I'm very excited to be here with you. It's been amazing to see all the new faces of our membership and other faces who've been here consistently contributing to the DAC over all its different iterations. With the turn of the new year, I've been really thinking a lot, and I've been very grateful that you've all entrusted me to be the chair for the DAC for the last year. As you know, the nominations will be coming up. I'm certainly happy to continue, but also would support anyone else who's interested in taking on that role and wanting to learn and take more of a leadership role across the DAC altogether. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I did want to express my gratitude for getting to do this role, and I think at least one or two more meetings, even if somebody else takes over. So thank you so much for that. I was reflecting, the thing I wanted most here is to help this committee achieve all that it wants to do based on the vital service that the Dash bus system delivers to all of Alexandria and its residents, business owners. And, I think to do that, it's been about maximizing what we're all passionate about, what our skills lend us to be able to participate and contribute. So I really am thankful for that. I've been personally really motivated by the things I've been hearing coming out of subcommittees, some of the different work that's happening there. I appreciate everyone's contributions to shape the DAC. I know we've been going through a little bit of a metamorphosis, but I really do think that this new structure is kind of multiplying the effects and impacts that we can deliver together. So with all of that, I just want to say Happy New Year. Looking forward to making 2026 the best year yet. Continue to find productive ways to work together, valuable ways to work together, and thanks for all the enthusiasm. I truly thank you all for it, and look forward to continuing to shape the DAC together. So with that, I'll hand to Camilla to do the roll call.
Yes. So I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for being flexible. I hope everyone's able to stay home, that everyone's very safe. We do have 2 new members, but I'm going to let the membership of recruitment committee subcommittee introduce them. And we also have the new director of planning and scheduling. She will be presenting later on, but I did want to acknowledge that we have new people. So I'll start with the roll call. Apologies if I mispronounce anyone's name, but let me start. So Nathaniel Cartagena.
Present.
Jim Durham.
Yeah, Jim's here. I don't know if you heard him.
Eric
Present.
Adams.
Yeah. Present.
Marcus Bernier.
Here.
Nafal Kulam. Matthew McManus.
Present.
James Maslanka.
Here.
Yvette Young.
Present.
Jason Koenig.
Here.
Bonnie O'Day.
Here.
Eric Van Horn. Jimmy Palmer. Jacob Yosef. Calvin O'Brien.
Camilla, I don't know if you were able to catch it. Jacob had come off of mute, but Jacob is present.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Calvin O'Brien.
Present. Sorry.
Peyton Brown.
Here.
And Brendan Kiviet.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so thank you for everyone for helping with the roll call. Just wanted to follow up the DAC Advisory Committee meetings for the Q4 session from Thursday, November 6th at 5:30 were sent out by Camilla this past Tuesday. Are there any revisions or comments, Camilla, that via email, or any revisions or comments from the room? Okay, sounds like no revisions. Well, they are approved as distributed. Thank you. Okay, Caleb, how are we running this SharePoint onboarding piece remotely? Are we still kind of this?
So we're going to try and do our best. You should have received an email from the city's HR team. I'm sorry, IT team. It should have come from a admin Corey Riley, Corey with a K. It will also be sent from like a Microsoft-esque account, so it will look similar to that. You can, if you can, check your spam folders, check your junk mail potentially. It could land in a variety of different inboxes. Ultimately, we aren't able to do this cycle. Just let me know, and we can try again either in April or seek an alternative solution to file storage and like form applications and such like that. Has anybody been able to find that email? It should have been sent out a little bit earlier this week. Let me verify which date. Should have been the 23rd, so last Friday is when the invitation should have been sent.
I added the name of the person on the chat. So if you want to search by that person's name, maybe that might be easier.
Yeah, I also dropped a screenshot in the chat just to potentially help.
Yep, I got it.
Alrighty, so you should be able to go through the process of, I'm not actually sure what that screen looks like. So it's a shame that Elmer wasn't able to join us today because he was out of office. But it should run you through the steps in order to get access to the SharePoint. And at the end, it should appear and you should see a DAC dashboard. But yes. And let me see. I believe I have, it should look something like this once you're all the way through. Has anybody not found the email as everyone's kind of going through the process? And I can make a note and have another email sent your way.
I haven't found it. Eric Adams.
I haven't found it either.
I also
I
haven't found it.
Yeah, I found it, but it's really old and it won't let me sign in.
So
Yeah,
there is
that
one
was-
that they sent out in June, but this is a new one they should have sent on Friday.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, the 23rd.
All right, so I have Eric Adams. Who else said they weren't able to access it?
Jim Meslanka.
And myself as well, Peyton.
Peyton.
Yeah, Nathaniel Cartagena as well.
And Brendan Kiviat, though, I'm a new member, so I may not have received it.
And Jason Kunick, Kunik.
Also myself, I got the email, but it doesn't actually lead me to any SharePoint page when I open and press the accept invitation button. And then I tried to directly access the SharePoint that you're sharing screen, and it said that I had to request access.
Yeah,
So,
my experience is the same with Marcos.
yeah, I will. So it seems like most everyone is still having some issues. So I will, one of the things that we can do is in the process, we can potentially have our ITS person, Elmer, reach out and share some resources. And I can also, in our follow-up email, provide his contact information to potentially provide like a walkthrough of how to do it, as well as if y'all run into any issues, especially for those who hadn't received an email. Just make sure that I have everyone. I have Eric Adams, Jim Maslanka, Peyton Brown, Nathaniel Cartagena, Brendan, Jason, Marcos, anyone else that was not able Yvette, you also said
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I cannot access either.
Bonnie, were you able to access it or?
I cannot. Sorry. I cannot.
Gotcha.
So we'll talk to Elmer because it seems like a lot. Well, it seems like no one really got access to it. So we'll find alternatives. If SharePoint is not an option, then we'll see what else we can do. But I know that we've been waiting a long time to be able to get some sort of hub where we have all our documents and where we can see all that information. So we'll find an alternative. We'll definitely have an update by April.
Okay. Yeah, I think this was tough to do remotely, so we'll try to pick this up, I think, in the next quarter.
All right.
I am gonna probably need a little extra hand holding. So I'll just contact staff directly and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes,
that
we're more than
works.
happy to support.
Thanks.
Just a quick question. Are you doing this with other parts of the community, doing file sharing with other parts of, other organizations outside of the city staff?
No, for
No.
the most part,
Yeah.
this is the only time that we share documents outside of either the city or with external parties, other than like a Dropbox if we're sharing pictures, or like a WeTransfer or some other technology like that if it's like larger files. But anything that typically can't be sent in an email, um, we don't have any share capabilities that is long term for something like that.
Okay. All right. I think with that, we'll transition out of the small technology snafu into the subcommittee readouts. Marcos, are you still comfortable doing the membership and recruitment? Obviously, the rest of us can back you up here.
Yeah, sure. I might need you to piggyback off of me when we talk about some of the discussions that we wanted to have in this meeting. But generally, yeah, I can definitely cover that. Since the last quarterly meeting, we've onboarded 2 new members, both of whom are on this call right now. So super happy to see that. We've also interviewed a couple of candidates in the interim and had some interesting discussions about how we want to interview and approve candidates moving forward. I'm going to let Nathaniel talk a little more about that now or maybe later in the meeting. But yeah, I think I'm going to give the space to Peyton Brown and Brendan Kiviat. If one of you guys want to go first and just give an introduction of yourself to the group.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet everyone officially. My name is Peyton Brown. I joined DAC in December and have joined in on 2 subcommittee meetings in January, which is Membership and Recruitment Subcommittee and Events and Public Engagement Subcommittee. Over the past year, I've become more and more interested in the public transportation section of the city of Alexandria. I'm becoming more involved with learning about how to be an advocate for the city in many different ways. And I've lived in Alexandria for almost 5 years now. So I'm really looking forward to working with everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peyton. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Peyton. I'm Brendan Kiviat. I also recently just joined the committee last week, actually, and am really looking forward to getting started. Lifelong Alexandrian, and really have been wanting to get more involved with public transit generally, but the Dash Bus specifically. It's something I've been using pretty much my entire life, and the ability to do more than just be a user and observer, but actually to improve a system that's helped me so much is really exciting, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brendan. Thanks for joining. Thank you for your interest. So Marcos, I'll add two topics I think that came up in the most recent membership and recruitment subcommittee. The first, I think, is a general update. I think one of the things that we're going to focus on beyond just the recruitment, interviewing, and recommendations for membership is sort of the initial socialization process. So introduction to other members, introduction to the subcommittees, and introduction to the professional staff, I think is a piece that we want to do. We're keenly interested in getting feedback from the broader deck about your experience with your initial onboarding, as well as things that you think would be helpful for new members to understand and to know. So if you have that feedback, I can pause here and I would welcome that. And then I think we have just one other small update. So I'll pause and see if there's any discussion around that before kind of round it up.
I was going to suggest that maybe in these dash events, such as rodeo or some tabling events that we have a deck member man the table, and then have some pamphlets or marketing materials ready to go, sharing ways to get involved. I think that will go a long way because the people that you run into at these events are self-selected already. They're already interested in public transit. They're out and about. I think that would be a easy persuasion to make to encourage them to apply and be involved.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Is that something, and professional staff don't have to comment or commit at this moment, but is that something that professional staff can help support in terms of, making a trifold or some other type of small takeaway about the deck?
Yeah, we'll be more than happy to support with that.
Okay, let me take So one other topic, and from the membership and recruitment subcommittee, we're now just one member away from our capacity. As you all know, in the previous meeting, we decided to cap our membership at 17 total members. Given that limitation, currently we wanted to raise if there is any specific characteristics we would be looking for in the final member. In particular, there's a couple of topics we talked about as a subcommittee, if there are any particular skills, if there are any particular bus lines, and if there are any other characteristics we would be looking for the membership. I think in particular, since we've added some new members, I don't think we have a full inventory of the lines represented. I don't think that's been done, so that may be something, Marcos, for us to take away as a part of the onboarding process. But I'm curious if there are any discussion around anything related to trying to fill the final seat in terms of in terms of what we might look for.
I think if I may just add a little bit of my perspective, being a youth member using the Dash, and especially like a public high school student having to rely on that every day, kind of offers a really interesting and different perspective from, no offense to my other board members, the adult perspective. And so I think that if we could get another high school member on the board, then that would be really incredible. And even more specific, personally, I tend to take the 31 towards King Street Station. So if we could get somebody maybe living on the West End who uses the lines more like the 36 AB or any of the 102s, 101s, those specific lines, just a thought.
Yeah, thank you, Calvin. I took a note here. Any other discussion on this matter? Otherwise, we'll review this at our next subcommittee meeting and proceed ahead. All right, I think that's it. Marcos, Peyton, Jimmy. Oh, I don't think Jimmy's here. Anything else to add?
Nothing else from me. I think you covered it perfectly. And I would encourage anyone else, if you have any comments about how we might fill that last seat, and you don't feel comfortable enough to speak up right now in the meeting, feel free to email us or email Nathaniel, because we want your perspective, especially as we reach capacity, like Nathaniel said.
Thank you. All right, I think we're good.
Jim Durham, were you raising your hand to speak just a second ago? Just wanted to confirm.
Yes, I'm not sure my microphone's working.
Yeah, we can
It's
hear you now.
working.
Okay. On the membership, just a suggestion that if staff could provide the membership committee with the demographics of Dash riders, and then ask if we have DAC members that are representative of the demographics. So to the point made earlier about youth, I think that 15% of our ridership are students. And so one could argue that we would need, if we wanted to represent the ridership, then there should be another youth member. So but I'm thinking more broadly of just what are the demographics of the ridership and how do we make sure the demographics of the ridership have representation? Just a thought.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
As Jason with a virtual hand. I don't think, again, being on the board for probably too long, I've seen a lot of people come and go, but we haven't had ADA representation very well. Just kind of put that out there. We have a lot of ADA topics and a lot of roles that I help make decisions on or support, but I'm not there. And so I'd much rather have somebody that is in the ADA community come forward and help us out.
Yeah, that's good insight, Jason. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I would definitely welcome another person with a visible or maybe invisible disability on the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Thanks all for your contributions. Looks like now the Advocacy and Public Policy Subcommittee who will be speaking on behalf of the subcommittee.
Oh, before the subcommittee starts, I do want to say that our CFO is here. So if we have any specific questions about the advocacy that you guys are doing and the letters, he's here and he can provide more information.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I'll be taking on the advocacy updates. If we want to skip forward 2 slides here to our update slide. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Whichever one of those appears first, I will update. Okay, cool. So in the interim, since our last quarterly meeting, we submitted a letter to the city manager advocating for some improved frequency funding for lines 32, 31, 103, and 104. We also met with 2 city council members and discussed legislative priorities in the Virginia House and Senate, and also some local ways, including tax legislation that we could secure some extra funding for Dash. In the interim, Jim and Bonnie also were able to attend NVTC, PRTC, and VRE legislative forums and meetings. Our next steps right now, first, we're working on putting together a short transit questionnaire for city council candidates. There's a seat that is most likely going to be open for election since Kirk McPike is running for House delegate seat. We're also waiting for the oh, my screen just turned off. Sorry about that. Okay, we're also waiting for the to be able to provide FY27 budget input. I think the first meetings on the city budget hearing is in March, and I think the city manager will present his proposed budget in late February, with a work session also taking place in March. We're also looking to continue supporting transit funding bills in the General Assembly, which brings me to the letter that we circulated with you all. There's 4 bills right now that are introduced in the House and the Senate combined on transit funding. For simplicity, I'll just refer to the Senate components. There's essentially just a House twin for each of these. Those are Senator Soroville's Senate Bill 730 and Senator Evans' Senate Bill 638. The big difference between these two is that 730 is regional. That's to say that all of the funding streams that are established in the bill are specific to the Northern Virginia region. Those include an additional regional sales tax of 0.385%, I believe, a regional highway use fee, which is 29-ish% of whatever the regional highway use fee is, or I'm sorry, the state highway use fee is now, and then a retail delivery fee of 20 cents per delivery. So think Uber Eats, getting non-groceries from Target or Walmart delivered, stuff like that. So these are all funding mechanisms which go directly back to the Northern Virginia Transportation District Fund, which directly doles out money to local transit agencies, including Alexandria, ART, Fairfax Connector, and some of the other members of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. We circulated a letter supporting Senate Bill 730 and also House Bill 900. Hopefully everybody had some time to review it. I also, between the time that I first sent out the letter and circulated another letter this morning, we got some very, very helpful feedback from Stevie Matthews, who I think is on the call. So I do appreciate you for that. We incorporated most of your suggestions, but I cut one out just to keep the DAC letter to one page. But I wanted to open up the letter for discussion here, if this is the time.
Would you like me to share the letter on my screen by chance, or
Oh, that would be fantastic, Caleb. Yes. Sorry, my screen is messing up right now. I keep pausing because it's turning on and off.
No worries. Let me pull it up real quick. Are they essentially the same between 730 and 900?
Yes, almost
Okay.
exactly identical, except, Senate is subbed for House, and so on and so forth.
Just wanted to check before I. Alrighty, here we go.
No problem. Yes, I think I've already spoken to essentially the contents of this letter. We are talking about, we also, at the beginning of the letter, we cite an NVTC study that showed the economic return on investment for tax dollar investments on transit in Northern Virginia, which I think is super helpful framing and, puts transit in the framing, transit funding in the framing that, there is actual return on this other than the service it provides. And that is to say that it is an economic engine in this region. So we focus on that in the first half of the letter. Happy to take, any questions or comments. Also, I know, Caleb, you mentioned the Dash CFO is on the line. So if there are any further comments from Dash staff, happy to hear it. But yeah.
Yeah,
Is it timely to move its adoption?
So could you say that again, Bonnie?
Is it timely to move that the DAC support the letter as presented?
I think so. Do we have would you like to make that motion?
I would. I move that the DAC support the letters to the House and Senate as presented. And
I'll second that motion.
And that we provide them to the appropriate city staff, DAC staff, and legislators.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Jim. Now that we have second, let's go ahead and move to vote. Is it easiest to raise hands? I'm not sure what the easiest way to do this is virtually. All in favor, can you just click on the raise hand along the top? Hopefully that will work okay here. A little hard to do ayes and nays remotely.
Seems unanimous.
I think we have one abstention. Matthew McCannis, is it intentional abstention? Sorry to call you out here, but is it intentional abstention?
I'm sorry, aye. I vote aye.
Okay, all right. So I think we have unanimous. Yeah, thank you sincerely to the members of the advocacy subcommittee. I know a lot of work and time goes into this. Your leadership's really greatly appreciated.
Yeah, of course, fantastic. And like I mentioned, keep on the lookout from us. We're gonna be working on that transit questionnaire for city council candidates should we see a city council election. And then also as the city proceeds in their FY27 budget process, you'll hear from us on that, seeking to put out some messaging aligned with Dash priorities. But that's it.
Marcos, we have a couple other slides. Did you want to run through those as well, or just wanted to confirm?
Oh, Jim, do you?
I have a question for Edward.
Yes.
A couple of months ago, there was a question about the line 32 service frequency improvement and increase, and that was considered one-time money. Can you tell us how that's going forward?
Yeah, so we were not originally aware of that. And in this budget cycle for FY27, as we were building it out, we discovered basically that the line 32 enhancement was only funded as a one-time enhancement in the FY26 budget cycle. And I went back and watched, the council add delete process where this happened, and it had been put into the add delete process as an ongoing improvement. During kind of the debate about it, it was switched to a one-time improvement with the idea that it was a one-time improvement using this specific funding, and I believe it was savings the city had on the WMATA bill. But the idea was by doing it one time, it would force the city to find ways to fund it in the long term. To me, that, I thought that meant, okay, well, we can put it into our FY27 budget, and that's great. It has been communicated to us that through the Office of Management of the Budget that is not the case. So our current services budget that we submitted for FY27 does not have the continued support for that enhancement in line 32. What that means is basically if we wanted to continue that enhanced service, it would have to go into it would have to be added in as an add delete. We couldn't put it as a supplemental because of the budget guidance from the city manager this year saying that any supplemental had to have an offsetting reduction. This is on top of the 2 reductions that we had to put forward from the city. So that's kind of the current situation. Obviously, the budget hasn't been adopted yet. That is, as was mentioned, that happens in late February, February 24th. The city manager presents his budget, and then the full adoption is April 29th. And you have the work sessions and the add delete, but that's kind of where everything stands at the moment.
Would you be able to comment on the difference in service frequency between the enhanced service and the standard service?
Yeah, so the enhanced service is on the western portion of line 32, the portion between Van Dorn and West End Transit Center. And basically what it does is it takes in the weekday off-peak times, it enhances that service from once an hour to once every 30 minutes during the off-peak times.
Well, can you paint us a picture? What will happen between February 24 and April when the city adopts the budget, and how can DAC, get configured into this?
Absolutely, yeah. So when the city manager presents his budget on February 24th, we'll essentially know what what we're being given as a subsidy for current services. And then there will be a series of budget working sessions. The one that includes Dash is on March 16th. And then there's the add delete process, and that add delete meeting is on April 18th. Basically what the DAC could do, it is in the hands of the city council to choose that to be one of the things for the add delete. So basically the council would have to advocate for it to be added in. So, DAC in their conversations with council members can, stress that this is a priority to keep that service. We've only been running it since August, which is when we implemented the enhanced service. So that's one of the ways that, the DAC can advocate for it, and advocate for it to be an ongoing thing. One of the things that, our board wrote a letter, and I think, staff very much backs this up as well. Basically saying that if the council supports service enhancements, they should only do it if there's ongoing funding and not as one-time things, because we don't want to add new service only to have it go away a year later when the public hasn't even gotten used to it.
Edward, are there any other priorities that they should be thinking about as they continue their outreach process?
As far as related to our budget, line 32 is the one that is not in our current services. So I think keeping that is a major priority. Also we're required to put in reductions every year, reduction targets. It's usually an exercise just to kind of put forward things. But this year, as was last year, there is a chance that the city manager does take one of those possible reductions. Last year, line 102 had been suggested as a reduction, and that was successfully added back in. This year, in our reductions that we had to put forward, line 102 and 104 are possible reductions. Now, we won't know until February 24th whether the city manager intends to take those, but I would argue those are also, if those are put forward as reductions that the city manager is expecting to be taken, I would definitely say that the DAC should advocate to keep those. Honestly, and Josh has said this as well, those would be, I think, even more important to keep than line 32 because they're longer running services. Line 32's enhancement has only been running since August, and so, we don't want to lose any service, but if we're going to lose one, it's, I think, the one with the least longevity. But we won't know if those reductions are being taken until after February 24th.
And is the board's letter representative of all of these or just the 32?
So the board's letter was primarily focused on kind of the portions of the ATV that are unfunded. Usually we put those forward as supplementals, right? But knowing that we couldn't put forward any supplementals without an offsetting reduction, which wasn't something we were going to do. We weren't going to put forward, hey, enhanced service here and take it away here. So the board's letter was basically, here's a letter of all the things that remain unfunded, and we want this captured in the budget process, knowing we can't formally submit them as supplementals. And by the way, we really want to keep line 32, and also in the future, don't fund enhancements unless it can be ongoing. So that's kind of everything that was encompassed in the board's letter.
Go ahead.
This is Jim. So summarizing what I'm hearing, and well, first a question, it'd be great if we get a copy of the board's letter. But what I'm hearing is if the city manager's budget cuts any services, such as 102 and 104, longstanding, those were the board's top priorities and would likely be the tax priorities. Number two, restore the line 32 enhancement. And then number three, fund, if we had more funding beyond those two, fund the Alexandria Transit Strategic Plan enhancements that were specified for 2022, fiscal year 22, that have not yet been funded. That's kind of the top three. Okay, thank you. That's
exactly.
And as you have meetings or do a lot of outreach, we're more than happy to provide talking points. I know we created like an infographic for Josh. So if there's specific data that you want to get from the team, please let us know what kind of data and we can create some sort of flyer, infographic, or talking points or anything like that for you to have all the resources needed to be able to do that outreach and advocacy.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think is getting a copy of the board letter something that is pretty easy to do.
Yes, yeah, we can send that.
All right.
I sent out to the DAC, I think yesterday, an infographic for the state funding, the Commonwealth-wide funding, and just to highlight some of that. If you know, there's tremendous pressure on the city's budget, so if we can get a little bit more from the state, that'll help a lot. The comment was, if we don't get the money that we're advocating for from the Commonwealth, then local jurisdictions would have to further cut their service or raise local taxes by up to 2.5%, which is a huge, huge amount. And so I just want to make sure that we have this discussion of the local funding in the context of we really, really, really want to be strong advocates at the state level to get more funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia to reduce some of the funding pressure on the city of Alexandria's budget and the city of Alexandria residents' property taxes. Thank you. And welcome for comments and other thoughts too.
Any other comments or discussion for the advocacy subcommittee?
Nothing here.
Yeah, many thanks to the subcommittee, and thank you, Marcos and Jim, for your updates and presentation. All right, it looks like we're moving to the events and public engagement subcommittee. Do we have a speaker from the subcommittee?
Yes, I will be going over the first 3 slides. Perfect. So since I am fairly new to DAC, I had joined one of the subcommittee meetings. So these 3 slides are really just going over some high-level conversations that we had about our objectives, approaches, strategic goals, and then a few action items. After I go over these slides, I will open it up for the rest of the subcommittee to have talking points on anything that was discussed before the beginning of this year, as well as I know that there were some members who brought up some ideas in email threads. So the first thing is our objective is to build consistent, inclusive, community-rooted engagement that strengthens Dash's local identity so that Dash can continue to feel like part of the community. And our overall approach for this is to meet people where they are in trusted, familiar community spaces using neighborhood-based and accessible engagement by coordinating across the DAC, the board, and Dash staff. So really, this subcommittee is focused on representing DAC at events, listening to the community, and then helping translate that feedback into potential improvements that people can see and experience. We can go to the next slide. So this slide summarizes some of our strategic goals in the 4 focus areas. The first, like I previously had mentioned, is to meet people where they are. We know that engagement works best when it happens in spaces that people already trust. So these are neighborhood events and community gatherings and places people are already going to. Second, we want to engage underrepresented and priority populations. So something that we all had previously just mentioned a few minutes ago. We want this engagement to reflect Alexandria's diversity and accessibility needs. That could include, but is not limited to, seniors, youth and students, people with disabilities, non-English speaking communities, new residents, etc. So our goal is to make sure that those voices aren't an afterthought and that they're built into the way that we engage from the start. Third, we want to continue to strengthen Dash's local identity. It would be great to highlight real riders, bus operators, and neighborhoods and show how routes connect people to everyday destinations. And lastly, we want to focus on collaborating across the DAC and dashboard and staff. So engagement is the most valuable when it connects to action, whether that's improving rider experience, strengthening DAC membership growth and retention, or supporting advocacy priorities and messaging. So we want to avoid silos and make sure that these insights we gather are shared and used across. And go to the last slide. So some of our overall next steps is we want to work with Dash to identify existing community events and locations where we can prioritize outreach. Caleb has already sent us a list of some events that are happening within the next few months, so we'll take a look at those. We even had an event already happen last week. So on January 22nd, Dash had hosted Space of Her Own, which is a nonprofit organization for a Dash experience. So the goal was to involve women from across the organization to share their experiences in public transit and STEM-related careers to a group of middle school girls. And some of the subcommittee members were actually able to attend that event. It was very successful, and it was very eye-opening to see how Dash can be very supportive of other organizations within Alexandria. And we're looking forward and very happy that we could support that event. We want to define these priority audiences so that we're intentional about who we're reaching out to and how. And then lastly, we want to establish a coordination cadence with other DAC subcommittees and the board so we can regularly share what we're hearing, align on those priorities, and ensure the engagement work is feeding directly into potential improvements and decisions. So this was all information that we had discussed during our subcommittee meeting a few weeks ago, but I want to open it up to other subcommittee members who have any further comments, ideas, etc.
Well, thank you, Peyton. I just want to add, if we have the SharePoint up and running, and we have a shared Outlook calendar that DAC members can all subscribe to, I think that will be very informative. So like the Space of Her Own events that you spoke of earlier, like the subcommittee was in the know, but if we open it up to the whole DAC, I think we'll have a turnout. Just situations like this. I think utilizing our SharePoint will be very helpful.
So while we figure out SharePoint, we'll make sure to send emails to everyone with upcoming events. That way everyone's aware of anything that we might be having or we're participating on. And I also want to add, I know a lot of people are here are part of different groups. So if you know of any type of partnership that we can maybe have, if there's an upcoming event or something that you see like this is an interesting organization that maybe there's the potential to do something with Dash, feel free to put us in contact with them. And that could be a first step to creating a partnership or an event or any type of service as well, maybe like a bus wrap or something that we can have a bus at one of the events or something like that. So any idea is more than welcome to come this way, and we'll figure out how we can best assist that.
I don't want to
Also,
speak.
if anyone, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Caleb. I'll hold.
Oh, it was just going to be a joke. I was just going to say we also do birthday parties if anyone's seen the latest Alex Now article. So keep that also in mind. Constantly doing tours and stuff like that as well. So
I was going to say there's a very natural connectivity, and I think we would be interested. Well, I'm certainly interested, but I hope I speak on behalf of the subcommittee for the rider experience. That some of the, especially the final bullet and the bullet of reporting feedback out of these events that you're collecting from membership, I think is of interest to the rider experience and feedback subcommittee as well. So I think there is a way to jointly collaborate and kind of multiply our effect there. So that would just be one idea, but I don't want to stifle the progress before we've made any. So just a comment for now. Any other discussion? Peyton, Yvette, thank you so much for the subcommittee update, and appreciate all the support from the members there. Thank you. All right, we'll proceed to the Rider Experience Subcommittee. Eric Adams, are you still good to walk us through this?
No problem.
Sounds good.
First, I'd like to say thanks to you, Nathaniel, for putting together our meeting and taking meeting notes, which contributed to most of this presentation. So, and all those in the subcommittee that also made comments and added feedback. So yeah, if you go on to the next slide, Caleb. So our agreed upon approach with the Rider Experience Subcommittee is to provide valuable and actionable feedback to the DASH professional staff and broader DAC opportunities to weigh in on rider issues. So we kind of prioritize where, our highest priority is going to be to focus on feedback for on-bus experience. The next is immediate services that support the bus. And then our lowest priority is for marketing, including emails, social, print, and events. I'm going to the next one. So what we've done so far is to show closed feedback topics. We've given feedback on the bus trackers via the SMS or text messaging, bus wraps, and then also the member name tags and lapel pins. I assume everybody's gotten one. Now I know I got mine when we did the rodeo. So when we do make, appearances out in public, we can have our name tags on. And actually, these are, I know on your slide, I missed this, but these are the open feedback topics. You got closed on both of those. So sorry I missed that one, but one that came up recently is why real-time service updates have been moved from Dash, Facebook, and X accounts to Blue Sky. I don't know if you want to chime in on it, Jason. Is he still on board? Because you actually, had someone talk to you directly about that.
Yeah. So no, hi everybody, Jason. I primarily spend 10 to 30 trips a week on 103, 104. 104 is definitely my jam. And it's a pretty tight group. It's a very large group on that line, and they're very vocal. And if you ask their opinion, they'll give it to you. Throw a crisis in there, and you don't even have to ask. They're going to give it to you. And so if a bus goes late and is canceled, or if there is a weather change, the first thing everybody does is they go to their muscle memory and they go to their social media, anything related to Dash, and they look for that update. If it's not there, guess what? I'm going to hear about it. And with the most recent change, it caused a little bit of a panic because it's inconsistent messaging. And then I had a bunch of folks say, anyways, long story short, they didn't have the messaging vehicle that Dash is using. And so I just want to put it out there. I think if we're trying to communicate with the broader audience, we should be using the broader tools. We were using the broader tools, but the storm has really kind of aggravated that communication a little bit. And so I just wanted to highlight that. I diluted a little bit, but we're good to go. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks you, Jason. I've had first-hand experience with being on the bus and some of the riders having challenges with using the bike racks in the front. So I thought that maybe it'd be a good idea to have some instructions. I know there's a video put together, but if there was like a bumper sticker right on the front of the bus that showed, a couple steps on how to, bring it down and load your bike and set it into place. So, and then can buses be more involved in events beyond the warming and cooling? So, but I guess that's more, the events subcommittee. But I was also thinking the PNC half miler is coming up in Old Town and Alexandria, and that would be a good opportunity for Dash to have a bus, prior to the race, because even though it's in April, it's probably going to be chilly at 7 a.m. in the morning. So to just sit down and, relax before taking the race or even after the race and have a presence. So, and then Nathaniel, you brought this about the effectiveness of the accessibility ramps on the bus. And you had a, very positive experience with a family member, right?
Yeah, that's right. My mother-in-law came and the accessibility ramps were highly effective. She was using a cane and getting on and off the bus, so yeah, it was very effective. And the drivers were very friendly and quick to support her.
Any comments or?
Yeah, so I can provide some feedback on that. To talk about buses at events or serve as cooling buses or heating buses, it really depends on not affecting service. So I think last year we were able to increase a lot of that. We were out more. We hope this year to be out even more at different events. The team's working very hard to do those partnerships, and we'll continue doing that. It really depends on maintenance and operations giving us the okay, saying, yes, you can take 1, 2, or 3 buses, and it's not going to affect our daily operations. So we want to be very mindful of being able to accommodate that. And then for Blue Sky, Caleb, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit of the thought process behind moving most of our regular updates to Blue Sky was mostly focused on the idea that you don't necessarily need to have an account, and it replaces the functionality of Twitter in the way that it was used by local police departments and transit organizations to supply those really short, condensed messages of just service updates. So it's just like, this is happening XYZ at this time, this place, on this line at this route. One of the things we were anticipating were to be able to do this for this current snow event. However, it wasn't necessary. We didn't stick with that. We did push updates through Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and our alerts page just because of the severity of the event. So it really depends on a case-by-case basis when it comes to how severe a specific weather event could be as far as moving all of the communications to Blue Sky. Ultimately, that is the goal. And through this event, we were able to see some follower numbers increase on that. And the idea is to get people more familiar with that process. We are intentionally slow rolling it, as to not necessarily, to Jason's point, have that initial shock. We do realize that some of the communications around the updates, the way that it was phrased was that we will not be updating other channels. We did change that language midway through the process to say not regularly update them, mostly alluding to the idea that depending on the level of the change that is going to be implemented. So, for example, from weekend service to weekday service, one of those big pieces, or when we made the call to not run service, I believe it was Tuesday, we had reduced service on Monday, I believe, or was that Sunday? I might be getting my days mixed up. Everything has been a blur. So that's a little bit of the insight into some of those the social media changes that we're trying to make for service alerts specifically.
Just to
Caleb.
Yeah, go ahead,
Sorry.
Jason. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to say, Caleb, you said that eventually that will be the only messaging. Is that true?
I may have misspoke if I said that or implied it. It's the goal is to eventually get to a state where we can use that as a more normal channel and use the others to be more for event focus rather than service.
All right. I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to give you ridership opinion that I'm an unofficial spokesperson for Dash when it comes to the 104 and 103, because I see everybody every single day. And I go way out of my way to educate folks on the challenges that drivers have, that buses have, schedulers, you name it, because I've been a judge at the rodeos. I've done a lot of these things. Here's the thing that people are really upset about is we've had an app that tell us there was a bus tracker that really didn't work out that well. We had text messaging. No one uses text messaging. That didn't work out very well. So people use their alternate apps to find out if the bus is going to be late or not going to show. This latest move with Blue Sky, I had 17 of 17 people say, not only am I not going to download the app, but I'm really debating on how many letters I need to write to the city. So I'm going to pass it on. If we are all in and just pushing things to one social media, and I don't even know what Blue Sky is, to be quite honest, and I'm not a big Facebook person because I have my own app. But at the end of the day, if we need to stop, we need to hit a broader audience and stop doing experiments, please. People are getting really irritated. And if their bus doesn't show up, the last thing they're going to do is look for a Blue Sky app to download. They don't want to do that. I'm just going to pass that on. And that is straight from the ridership. It's not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate the feedback. One things I did want to mention is that for Blue Sky, you should be able to access and view the accounts without necessarily needing to download the apps. The link that we link to is to our direct account, and you don't need an account to access it, nor do you need the app itself. But we can expand on those at a later date, or I can run through some more in depth with you as well.
Well, no, I need to know. I'm going to tell people tomorrow morning what the answer was because they asked me to ask it. So what should I tell them?
The idea was to move Blue Sky to be like a service alerts page. Instagram and Facebook, especially Instagram, is more for stories, photos, videos, not so much service alerts. So that's how we saw the different platforms, like the different social media accounts. So we saw Blue Sky you can easily track, like see a thread. You can't do the same thing with Facebook and Instagram. So that's why we wanted to move service alerts to that. This storm was pretty harsh, so we weren't doing as many updates as we thought we were going to be doing on a daily basis. Last year at one of the storms, we were doing updates, I think like every 2 or 3 hours, something was being updated. So it was very hard to keep track on Instagram and Facebook. And then you, as a user, you don't know when you're looking at the stories, you don't know, is this happening now? Is this story for 24 hours ago? So that was kind of the intention from Blue Sky. But because this storm, we were really not doing so many updates, all of the major information was shared throughout all the social media accounts.
Yeah, well, I'm just passing on. If the goal is to communicate.
Can anybody else ask a question? I have a question for clarification. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
That when I heard Caleb and Kamala say that you want to use Blue Sky for alerts, if I don't have a Blue Sky account, how do I get that alert?
So you don't have to have an account. So that's the reason why we're also wanting to do that. You don't not like. It's like, for example, you need to have a Facebook account, you need to have an Instagram account to be able to see all the information. That's not the case with Blue Sky. You can just click on the link and you'll see our account and get all the information.
So I need to have some link that I keep on my device and check it. Is that what I'm hearing? But so I need a link on my device, but I don't need an account. Is that what I'm hearing? Yes. I just want to clarify what your answer is, and I'll turn it back over to Jason to finish figuring out what he's going to tell people tomorrow. But I was trying to reconcile. So for me to get an alert on Blue Sky, I do not need an account, but I do need to have a link that I know to click on. And so how do I know? How do the current riders know to go to that link? It's kind of where I am. That's all.
So
I'm going to shut up.
You won't get the alert itself. You would have to click on the link to see kind of our profile with all the service alerts. And we've been sharing that link on our website, on the other social media accounts. That way people can just link on that and that will take them to the Blue Sky account.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I do think that it would be a better approach to make Blue Sky additive rather than like the de facto thing. I mean, I think the problem is just getting people to go there. even if it is easier, even if you're not logged in, like if people are already at Facebook, then there's no navigation problem. If there's just an update sitting when you're riding your bus or waiting at your stop, looking at whatever your preferred feed is. So I mean, I like the idea of using Blue Sky, but I'm not exactly sure that it follows naturally to eliminate the other updates. I kind of get the Instagram piece, but again, like I don't think anyone's going to be like not following you on Instagram because you're putting service alerts in there. I don't think that's going to be dissuading people who are following Dash. So I think my recommendation would be to look at it as an additive thing. I do understand why it's good, but in the same way that it's good, it's just getting eyes on it, getting the most information out. And so I would have the Dash professional staff consider it a more additive approach instead of, subtractive.
Yeah,
I agree with Nathaniel. I mean, most people are using Facebook and X, so, and then they're getting the link, I guess, from those accounts to go to Blue Sky. So.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the feedback, and during this storm, we noticed that as we were coming up with content, the question was, where should we post it? And every time we said we need to post on all social media accounts because the updates were just so important to be shared everywhere. So the plan that we had, ideally, like the initial plan of just doing Blue Sky was not what actually went through, just because of the severity of the storm.
It strikes me that you could, for a very low fee, get a service like Hootsuite or a bunch of others that just post to all your socials when you have service alerts like this. And I don't know if that's allowed by the city or not, or if you really have to like one by one log in, or if there's too many different owners of the accounts to allow that. But it strikes me that you should be able to kind of set and forget, or post once and post all. So just one other thought.
Any other comments?
I think maybe I'm at the tail end of beating a dead horse here, but I do want to just add my perspective. Like I shared in the chat, the Twitter or X, Facebook and Instagram, those are all walled garden social media platforms. And that means for someone like me, I don't have accounts on any of those platforms. When you navigate to Dash's social media on X or on Facebook, X specifically, let me take X as a case example. First of all, they don't display tweets to you in a chronological feed. And second of all, the minute that you try to interact and try and find any more recent tweets or posts or information, there's a login block. And you cannot access any information until you log into an account on those websites. So I want to echo that there is a lot of value in putting real-time updates on a platform that doesn't have one of those blocks to accessing information. On Blue Sky, whether or not you're logged in, everything is displayed in chronological order, and you can see it. You just go to the link, and I did post it in the Teams chat on the side. But I think generally, I just wanted to offer that alternative perspective. For me, I cannot go to Facebook, I cannot go to Instagram, and I cannot go to Twitter because I don't use them, and they don't allow me to even view without having an account. But in general, I agree with Nathaniel's comment that continuing to post on all of these platforms is obviously the best, because you have to meet people where they are. And sometimes that is a platform that you have to log into, and sometimes that's just the bulletin board. So yeah, that's all.
I have a quick suggestion. Oh, go ahead. Who else had the comment? Anybody?
I was just saying thank you, but I think Jim has his hand up.
I don't have any more comment on that particular issue, but I have one for the subcommittee.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make one suggestion. Maybe we could have a QR code at the bus stops for Blue Sky and say, hey, this is your way to get the latest information on Dash.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and we'll definitely share that with the team. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, can we get the next slide? Caleb, thank you.
Well, I have one question on this slide that's not on the notification topic, I don't think. On the closed feedback topics, you list bus tracker via SMS as a closed topic. what was the rider experience subcommittee position, question, or whatever, and what was the answer for that? I don't understand what issue was raised, and I don't understand what issue was closed.
Well, that was actually, it's going to be on the next slide, but
okay, go ahead.
One of our members, Eric Van Horn, we just gave positive feedback. I've used it before.
Okay.
Nathaniel, you've used it,
yeah,
and it's been effective. And Eric actually, if you see on the next steps, he actually called the customer service line just to give him that feedback, because we also wanted to test the feedback loop. So just going on items requiring feedback from the broader DAC of what makes the new bus signs in Old Town effective for wayfinding. Anyone want to chime in on that?
Just before we do that, if I may, Jim, one of the things on the closed topics, the feedback that we're collecting includes all of the comments in these live sessions. So in fact, interestingly, on July 29th, you had recommended that the text 41411 was working well and effective, and we provided that feedback in a small session back to the professional staff, had some brief discussion, and decided there was no additional action to take. And so that's how it ended up being closed.
Yeah, no, the reason I asked is again, I may have misheard. I thought I heard Jason say, because of the problems with the text SMS notification, whereas it is my go-to, and that's what I always rely on. So I thought you were reporting a problem. I didn't know you were providing feedback that it was working.
Oh, you know what, Jim? I'll give you some clarification. I had a mother with her 10-year-old daughter. It happened to them twice in the last 2 months on 104, and it's at the 5 o'clock bus leaving the Braddock Metro and continuing on into our neighborhood. And it was canceled twice, and both on the text and on the website, it showed that the bus wasn't. And so they were actually stranded. And so she gave me direct feedback. And so I was just passing that along. That was one of the frustrations. And I was actually on the second one that was canceled with her. So.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback. Doing a great job. I just said mostly with clarification. And I have one more comment on the I'd like the suggestion on the bike racks. I have had riders tell me when they put their bike on the first time, the bus driver helped them and made sure they knew how to do it. So I shout out, I mentioned that just to you guys, if somebody would feedback, some positive feedback to the drivers. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay. Anything on the wayfinding?
Yes, just Eric, if I may, one more thing. On this piece, these are topics on our feedback tracker that were captured as DAC feedback provided to the DASH staff, and the DASH staff has asked for further clarification from the DAC on. So in particular, these two topics were referred back from the DASH professional staff to the DAC about both the new signs in Old Town, what makes them effective for wayfinding, and what how useful are the stroller adapters on the new buses if we have anyone who's using those. So looking for the this is a follow-up on earlier feedback to get more detail for the DAC, for the DASH professional staff.
Could somebody please describe what the new stroller adapters are on the new buses? Because I know I've been on buses when there've been sometimes a couple of strollers, and it's been really difficult for people to negotiate their way around the strollers. So could you describe what the new stroller adapter does, and basically how it's better than what has been there?
So I can provide what I have in my notes. Raymond provided this as a point of feedback early on, and it's apparently only in the new buses. But yeah, Camilla or Caleb or any other professional staff maybe can give more detail.
Yeah, so I think it's the 900 buses, 2 or 3 new buses that we have that you can fold the seating on the side for the stroller area. That's what I'm aware of. Kill, do you know anything else
I
about that?
I believe I've used this myself. A driver helped me, sorry to interrupt, but helped me fold seats up on a trip, I want to say on the 33 last week, with a stroller. And it was a seats that folded up on the front, I want to say left-hand side of the bus.
Camilla, I
Yeah,
can
and those
speak
are
more
the
to this if this helps.
yes.
Okay, I'll do my full spiel later, but first I'll step in and say that the fold up seats that are at the front of the bus that have always been there, that are, you know, for ADA kind of compliance type areas, behind that now are seats that are always folded up. They're called theater seats. So like when you go to the movie theater, you pull it down and then you sit on top, kind of like stadium seating. So there will be a secondary row of these behind that area up front that is traditionally blocked off for people with mobility needs. So these are always up. They will be optional for people to sit on at any point in time, but they are better dedicated for people who need to park something like a stroller or a shopping cart or leave another kind of mobility device that they're not secured in, but they're going to leave behind. These are on our new buses going forward. That's how they're going to be spec'd.
Thanks, Stevie.
Sure.
Brendan, it sounds like one of the few folks who've used it. Can you describe, like, after one use or one support with a driver, do you think it's something that you could use easily on your own, or do you have any other feedback?
I do. It sounds like with Stevie's clarification that I was actually using the older ADA compliant seating area with that gets folded up, but even still, the driver was extremely helpful. And I mean, was getting it ready before I even had all four wheels of the stroller onto the bus. They were, there folding it up. So really great experience on my end.
Great. Anything else?
Any commentary on the wayfinding signs for Old Town, the new signs? Jim, is that a new hand up or an old hand up? Jim Durham. Okay. Any feedback on the Old Town piece?
I might need some clarification on what the what the new signs in Old Town are. I only ask because I have to have seen them because I live in Old Town, but I'm not familiar.
So from the notes I have, this was originally raised by Bonnie back in July. The notes explain that in Old Town, the signs were set to stand on their own posts, is my understanding. But perhaps others have further details beyond the notes I have.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, and please correct me if I'm misremembering, Bonnie, but I think it was we used to have the King Street trolley signs and our bus stop signs on two separate poles. And since then, in Old Town, we've consolidated them to be on the one pole that's identifiable as with our other bus stop signs that like for folks with visibility needs or it's quickly identifiable rather than being previously positioned on light posts and stuff like that, and you don't necessarily know that it's a bus stop. If I'm remembering
that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, got you. So they're not new signs. It's just they've been made a lot more prominent and a lot more, easy to spot. I have definitely noticed those changes over the past, several months, and I know that they've reconfigured a couple of the bus stops there on King Street specifically. I think it's super helpful, especially because when they were more obfuscated, I think one of the biggest problems is other cars blocking the bus stops. And I think that as time has gone by with those more present signage and reconfigured, stopping or I guess spacing between the stops, it's gotten a lot. It's become a lot better of an experience to ride the bus in Old Town, from my perspective.
Marcus, just so I have it clear, it's due to decreased likelihood of cars either blocking the stop or the visibility of the sign. Is that kind of the nature of your feedback?
Yeah. And I mean the signs, yeah, and the signs are more visible also just over environmental elements, trees, and other signs like Caleb mentioned. There were a couple there on King Street and also on the 3031 corridor that were, combined with other signage or super close to other signage, and I think they've been made a lot more prominent now. So
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that would be a topic to continue for the deck to, as members maybe notice opportunities for similar improvements to flag.
And I do want to add that Stevie's group they were gonna be part of this meeting because we moved virtually. They're gonna be part of the April meeting. They have a lot of information they want to provide about signs, the infotainment on the buses. So we'll talk more about it. So get more feedback as we continue the months ahead.
Yeah, the new infotainment's very nice on the ones I've been on.
That it? So closing, we wanted to test out the feedback loops for contacting Dash. So 3 of our members, myself, Eric Van Horn, and Nathaniel, each reached out to Dash. I did online. So I left a comment or suggestion for the bike rack instructions on the 16th of this month and got no response yet. Eric made a phone call and talked directly to customer service and had, a positive conversation. And then I don't know if you want to talk about your letter, Nathaniel.
Yeah, so one piece of feedback, and Camilla, I talked to you when we met privately, but I think one piece to bring to the broader deck is the mailing address is listed on the customer service page, but it doesn't have any attention to anyone in specifically. So there's no way to tell that it's a customer service request. I think the website should probably be updated to say, whatever the place is, attention, customer service, or somebody who's in charge of customer service's name. Because I get the sense that this goes into like the fan mail and then is, shredded. Without the understanding that it's a service request. So anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do think that I submitted a 2-part letter, one about how well the accessibility ramps worked over the holidays, and a second about how I maybe embarrassingly at a bus station got on the bus in the wrong direction, and how stations in particular could use enhanced directionality indicators beyond standard stops. I know they have some, but it just, whatever. That's what I put in my letter. So no response yet, but that's what it was.
So I do want to say that all the letters do come to the customer service team, and the customer service team actually distributes, depending on what's the mail, to the specific department. If there's not someone, if there's not a specific person, customer service opens the letters and then is able to provide information. But yes, I agree that maybe having an attention to makes it just more easy for the person to get it or the team.
What is the expected response? Eric and I are both at basically 2 weeks with no response. I mean, mail, I'm not expecting anything in 2 weeks, but I think an online response seems warranted within 2 weeks.
So for online suggestions, not all of them get responded. It really depends on the feedback and kind of if it's a complaint or something like that. Not absolutely everything gets a response, but it's usually a week that for you to get some sort of response.
I think it says 5 days on the website. So, but I'm sure that's more for complaints.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a clarification also to make, because I don't think that the site says, feedback will be, notated without response.
Okay.
So that might be a point of clarification to make.
So did I leave anything out? I know, is Jason still on the line? Other subcommittee members?
I'm right here. You guys done a great job. I know I didn't get to help out with the surveys, but I will at the next round.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks for your input.
Yeah, thanks for talking us through it, Eric. Thank you. Yeah, I think Caleb, I think that's our full update for the subcommittee.
Alrighty, I did want to mention that we are going to be running a little short on time, but we are going to give Stevie as much, probably the last 30 minutes or so to use as she pleases, and then we will follow up with any updates from the marketing and public engagement team. I did want to just quickly mention that we did make some revisions to the ride guides. We'll be providing those in that email, and the changes that were applied.
So before Stevie starts, I do want to thank all the subcommittees for all the work that you guys are doing. This is great to see this interaction, all of this feedback. This is exactly what we need. And I do want to offer my team to be available for your meetings. So I know each subcommittee has monthly or periodic meetings, so anyone from my team will be able to join those meetings, just so someone from Dash is there to provide any guidance or any information, or just be that bridge between the subcommittees and Dash. So please let us know whenever you're meeting. That way someone from the team is able to join those meetings.
Yeah, thank you so much, Camilla. Very generous offer. Much appreciated.
And without further
now-
ado,
Yes.
Stevie.
Okay, and I'll try to keep this brief so we stay on time tonight. Okay. So hi, everyone. As Camilla mentioned earlier, I'm Stevie Matthews. I'm the new Director of Planning and Scheduling here at Dash. I lead the service planning and the customer-facing technology team. And I'm really excited to be here and start working with all of you. A little on my background, I've focused mainly on transit planning, so things like accessibility, service design, scheduling, regional coordination, basically all this behind the scenes work that shapes how we do the service that actually shows up for riders. Also got a bit of background in community engagement, where I can have some overlap with this team here, and in running operations as well. So at a high level, I wanted to share with you that I'm currently working on an update to our transit strategic plan. Sorry, was there a question? No. So you may hear this called the ATSP. I'm sure you've been involved with this in the past. It's the document that guides our future service improvements and priorities. And we update it every year based on community goals, performance targets, and funding. So kind of in line with what Edward had discussed for the upcoming fiscal year, what we've submitted in the budget is essentially that maintaining status quo to keep the service that we have on the road today. Typically, we would put forward the supplemental requests that are tied to the ATV goals. But like he said, this year, those requests would have been tied to identifying service reductions elsewhere. Therefore, we made that decision to not propose improving service in one area at the expense of riders in another. So as a result, the ATSP does not include plans for the additional frequency expansions, but it does include the potential decrease in frequency on the Route 32 that we've kind of talked about a little bit before. Instead, this year, the plan focuses on improvements we can actually achieve that have little to no added cost. Things in the background we can do, like running time adjustments, increasing capacity by deploying more articulated buses, and improving some of the operators' working conditions, which will ultimately improve service reliability. And then lastly, looking ahead, as Camilla mentioned, at the next meeting, I'll be bringing some of my folks from my team to lead a hands-on activity. We'd originally hoped to do that tonight, but determined it would be more effective in person. It's going to involve some new looks to signage. We want to get your opinion on what's effective and what is capturing, your grasp when they come by, and a little bit more digging into the infotainment systems. So I'll just keep it real concise. You guys are welcome to ask me any questions you'd like, but I know there's tons of other stuff you want to go through. So.
Stevie, I would be curious, and just maybe in your, I know this is still very early days. Can you walk us through maybe what you see as your focus for the first for your immediate term here, where you've kind of got your primary focus on? I think you've given us a bit of that, but love to get a little more detail.
Yeah, really, as I'm getting my feet under me, getting caught up with what has been ongoing to try to see what can have traction and move forward. Rewriting this annual plan has given me a lot of that perspective. And generally, I think where can we make improvements that don't cost money that we haven't necessarily been granted funding for is really kind of what I'm going to have my team focus on. Some of these things that will have an impact, but not cost too much to implement.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Are there other questions from the DAC for Stevie? Stevie going very short. We had 20 or 30 minutes, I think.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
What is infotainment?
Those are the screens on the buses that are full color and give you real-time updates.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I think that goes full loop on my earlier story where I got on the bus going in the wrong direction. The infotainment is the first thing that told me I was going the wrong direction. It was dark. I didn't even notice I was going the wrong direction. But the new signs did.
I'll make sure to pass that on to my team. They'll find that very heartwarming.
Yeah. Jim.
Yeah. The few months back, there were some downward trend in reliability of service, and I understood that to be back it up. A year ago, reliability issues were a challenge because of the number of bus drivers that actually did a great job, marketing, hiring, et cetera, training, such that we got to a point a couple of months ago, I believe, where reliability issues were not operator driver caused, but rather not enough buses ready to put on the road. And a large part of that was the electric buses. Have you turned the corner in that, or are we still having, Jason mentioned the ghost buses, I think. Are those still being driven mostly by lack of enough, not having enough buses on the road?
From what I have gathered so far, we still have a ways to go to be fully staffed and fully operational in terms of vehicles as well. And that also came from, I believe it was Nathaniel's question about service improvements, that we can make some of these running time adjustments. So I think of this as kind of that triangle where you kind of make improvements and then you shift one way or the other, and there's always kind of one that gets shorted. So we do have a lot of trainees in the process right now that should be out on the road in the near future that should help with giving our existing operators a little bit of a break from some overtime hours. We have rolled in 6 new buses that are going through the process of their quality checks to make sure everything from the factory is functioning appropriately before we can put those into service. So that should help, like I said, with capacity. Now that we have some of these additional articulated buses, we still only need 1 operator to perform that service, but there are more people that will fit onto that vehicle. So that should help. And then with some of the running time improvements we can make to the schedules themselves on the timetables, we can start to make it a little bit more predictable with some of the increased traffic patterns. So when we can pull all those 3 things together, we can get a lot more reliable out there.
Stevie, I have a question. I have no idea if this is in your purview or not, but this has been it's been, I think, kind of a running theme here, which I don't know how you control it, is that Google Maps is not very good for the Dash system for whatever reason. And I had another encounter with this problem this week with the changes of service. Like I went out, I was trying to go to the gym, And I was like, I can't drive. I'm going to take the bus. And so I was out at the bus stop at like 5:30 in the morning, and there was no bus coming because of the change to, the weekend schedule, the shortened shortened trips. But Google still was reporting normal stuff, and I'm not sure how all those third parties collect that information and how that gets routed. But
so you're talking about this weekend in particular?
This would have been Wednesday. So I guess literally yesterday morning at 5:30, I was outside freezing, waiting for a bus, and it never came. I just went home and actually my wife was delighted because I cleaned the house instead. But
well, I can answer this, and it's really one of those like chicken and the egg. We were really kind of like Caleb talked about, scrambling to come up with the best level of service that we could provide with the limited number of operators that were coming in, under the conditions that we had. So we were scrambling, my team in particular, to build schedules that weren't normally operating. So normally our process takes like 6 to 8 months to do completely, and they were doing something in like 48 hours. So in order for a normal service to be developed and everything to go the steps that they're supposed to, when that's done, that data is then pushed out to the GTFS feed. It is the General Transit Feed. I cannot remember the acronym offhand, but that is what feeds Google in order to use those transit specific times. And in this case, the special circumstances that we were under, we weren't able to push out that data set in an amount of time that even Google could have responded to. So the only way we can really adjust for that is if we had possibly an internal version of an app that did that. And at this time, we just don't have that. So I still think your Blue Sky or the other, connections would be your best bet to determine when those buses are coming. So we did put up online, at least, a small version of the timetables that things were modified for. It was just a freak circumstance that, we weren't able to do as much as we would have liked to get the word out in time. So I'm sorry you waited in the cold, but I'm happy for your wife.
I do want to add what Stevie mentioned. The timetables were added to the service alert page on the website. So not ideally, that's not what we want, but we did want to make sure that people had the information and being able to see schedules somewhere.
Yeah, thank you for
Brendan, do you have a question?
Yeah. I imagine this is the same data feed you described. I frequently use the Transit app to track buses, and I've actually had some success, not with the weather this week, but in the past, where you see what may look like a ghost bus or there's no bus at all appearing on the line. I think Jason might have mentioned a 103, 104 issue a few weeks back. I've actually had success just calling the customer service line at that point and asking about the status of the bus. They've confirmed for me, obviously it's not ideal when the bus doesn't show up, but rather than continuing to wait, they've confirmed for me whether a bus is en route to the stop or not. So just putting that out there. And I guess the transit app probably feeds from the same data set that you just described, Stevie, but
yeah,
I just wanted to.
That's a good point to bring up, because as useful as the third-party apps are, I use them too, don't get me wrong, they are all based on scheduled data. So everything that is pushed out, that is anticipated. So if something happens along the way, if there's a breakdown, for instance, it's not using the real-time data that is coming from each individual bus as it functions on the road, or if it doesn't happen to leave the garage. You wouldn't have that. That's where you get those ghost buses from. So if you really, really, really need like the most accurate information, calling is a really good way to determine that.
This is Bonnie. I'd like to add on to that. I use that transit app too all the time. And I thought that it was based on real time, because it'll tell me, the bus is 2 minutes away or 3 minutes away. even if it's late or, you know, whatever. So I'm surprised to hear you say that that's not the real time.
It's not 100%, because there is a delay between the things that are being communicated. I think it is making it, because they're all using an algorithm, right? They're making calculations based on where the last piece of information they have gotten in terms with where it thinks the bus is supposed to be. So if it has gotten information from a bus perhaps going in the opposite direction, it may tell you that an incoming bus is expected, and it's basing it off of paired service. I've seen that happen too, where you get some of those ghost buses because it's basing it off of a different vehicle that is in that same general vicinity.
Huh. Okay. Thank you.
I have just a very quick add-on to that, if that's all right.
Please.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Bonnie, the more people that use it, the more accurate it is. So that's why sometimes I've been using Transit app for years. I leave it on, even though I know where I'm going every single day, only because that kind of helps out the database and helps out other users. And so that's because I realize that. Now, one thing I do want to emphasize, and I see it because 104 is taking a middle school home. So if you catch the 3:30 or the 4 o'clock leaving the Braddock Metro station, sometimes I'm the only adult and it's standing room only because it's all middle schoolers. So when we talk about, I don't want to play down disappointments when it comes to a bus being missed or being late in communicating. These middle schoolers, most of them do not have cell phones. And I have a few younger children myself. They're not always dressed appropriately when it comes to the weather. And so those are our riders too. And sometimes I will get on this bus, especially the last few weeks, and there's 40 middle schoolers on there that are freezing. And guess what? That 5 o'clock bus didn't show up. So it does happen. It happens every single month. I don't want to play down the emphasis on how important it is that we are communicating that a bus is late or a bus is going to cancel. It's a really big deal. It's a big deal to these kids. It's a big deal to these parents that are waiting for these kids. And I just want to highlight that.
No, it's a very good point.
This is Matt McManus. I've used the Transit app frequently, and I would say 95%. It's pretty close. I'm very happy with it. Thank you.
Yeah, I also wanted to piggyback. I've had some software experiences with using GTFS, the General Transit Feed Specification. I have a background in computer science. Bonnie, to clarify a little bit, they are real time. There's like two components to GTFS. It's the schedule one, which Stevie was talking about, and then there's GTFS real time. The issue with the buses being canceled in the past couple of days is that the schedule, like she said, was modified with so little head time, so that the schedule was not pushed fully to the GTFS feed and then pulled down by Google Maps or the Transit app or Apple Maps and stuff like that. So that's to say that they are, when it says real time on Transit app or Google Maps, that is quite literally a GPS tracked location in the past 30 to 120 seconds of that bus. And then it makes, estimates on when that bus will arrive to XYZ ABC stops based on the last reported distance and based on the scheduled arrival, and all the other, algorithmic considerations that Stevie mentioned. But also want to tote Transit app. It is the best one, and I love it. That's all.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions or comments for Stevie? Yes, no, maybe so. Jacob? You should. Alrighty, can you try speaking? Yeah, for some reason we aren't getting any feedback through the mic. Yeah.
There's a question in chat. It
Yeah, he
says,
did
is it
type something.
feasible? Oh, go ahead. I'll read it.
Oh, I can read
It
it.
says, is it feasible to have like an arrival beacon that has different colors for how late a bus is? And I think if you're asking this in context of the transit app, we are not in control of that. It's a third-party app. No, not that one. On the website? Just internally.
So I believe we have technology that we use that we can see most of our buses in real time. However, I believe it is a separate data set that is being transmitted that we're seeing internally. One of the external components that we do share is the dash tracker widget on our homepage, which is similar to a beacon, unless I'm completely whiffing that and just missing it completely.
I mean, I think the sense I'm getting from Jacob's comment is, you know, like in the picture that you see on your screen where it says Dash Alexandria Transit Company, that overhead could be colored to say, you know, red, yellow, green, to be indicative of like, if it's within 1 or 2 minutes, you know, it's green. If it's more than 5 minutes or whatever, you know, it's yellow. And if it's more than 10 minutes late, it could be, you know, in red or something. I think that's the gist. I think I saw a thumbs up there too from.
I am not sure I know enough about how that is portrayed on our website to be able to answer that, but it does leave me with a good question to do some investigating.
Or Stevie, maybe some of the stops that actually have a screen or something like that, maybe that could be an option. I'm just guessing. Something that you can ask the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I did capture that also in the feedback tracker, so we'll monitor that as well.
Thanks for working with us, Jacob. Sorry about the mic issues and not being able to hear it and kind of trying to figure out how to answer the question. Any more questions for Stevie before we move into some last minute updates and move to adjournment and such? Going once, going twice. All right. So the last bit I will have Camilla start us off, and we'll move through this pretty quickly for everyone.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk quickly about events. The idea this year is to do a lot of more bus wraps. Caleb, can you share the one for this month, for next month, I mean? So we'll try to do more bus wraps, hopefully one each month to commemorate or just celebrate whatever's happening that month and partner with the city or any other agencies that might be having some sort of event. So this is the one that we're doing for February. There's going to be a few events that we're coordinating with the city to be part of. And we'll make sure, like I said, that we send invites to all the upcoming events if the SharePoint is not working. Some of the upcoming ones for March, we have the St. Patrick's Day Parade. The team has been working to do Dash 102. So those are kind of some information sessions with high schools and libraries. We have Dash Night Outs. That's going to be towards the end of April. And that's for baseball and softball games happening. And then we are going to be hosting the CTAB Rodeo towards the end of April. So I'll make sure that we send an email with all those upcoming dates. But you're all more than welcome to join us either as a writer or if you want to have a table and just represent the DAC. That could also be an option, and we're more than happy to accommodate you guys. And like I said, we'll share every time we have a new bus wrap. We'll make sure to also send a photo or an image. That way you guys can see it and keep an eye on it during that month. But I think that's it for events. I know we wanted to talk quickly about the ride guide and the pocket guide, so I'll leave it up to you, Caleb.
Yeah,
Unless
I
anyone
also
has
just
any comments. Yes.
Can I make a comment? Yeah, on events?
Yes.
I also chair the Transportation Commission, and I raised the events at our update at our commissioners meeting this month. The commission would appreciate an invitation to walk along the bus for St. Patrick's Day. We thought that would be good branding, and I think an invitation to everyone on the DAC would be well received as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the St. Patrick's Day parade, I know for the Pride parade that we had last year, we did have a contingency. For the St. Patrick's one, we don't. Is just the participation that we're having is just the bus, and for that month is gonna be Women's History Month, so we'll coordinate for that bus to be there. But anytime we have a parade that we have a contingency available, we'll make sure to share that. That way, you're more than welcome to join us.
So there will be no bus at St. Patrick's Day Parade?
Just the bus, but not a group of people being part of the parade. So just the bus.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
I did also want to add that we're finalizing some collaborations for Black History Month because this is the 100th year celebration. We're coordinating with the city to figure out some of those collaborations, and we'll be sharing some additional information on those to have the bus present, as well as the internal posters kind of talking about a little bit of the history about Transit Equity Day, Black History Month, and so on and so forth. We also have a recognition website for Transit Equity Day that will be going up with updated information and graphics. But yeah, those are two updates from that. Sorry.
Caleb, can I just quickly, one of the pieces of feedback we had, I think I don't know, I could look at the specific date, but it was being able to participate in providing feedback on this in time for it to print. Is that possible this go around?
So we did just recently apply the updates from our last meeting to this version, which was one of the offsets that we had because that August version had been printed, or we were in the final stages of clicking print, so we were able to apply the changes to this February edition. As we go forward, we have the opportunity to continue to try and build in some of that additional time as we're doing the planning. So we're happy to loop in the DAC for some of these revisions as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see. So for the ride guide, some of the feedback that we received was that the print quality was nice, that it felt premium, that it was strange to have a blank back cover, which we were able to make some modifications to and fill in some of that information. Oh, let me see. Sorry for the quick scrolling. So we added this block toward the top that's Ride with Dash that provides some rider information as far as how to use the tracker, where to access the tracker, how to use the text feature, which was also a comment that we received, was adding a note about the text 41411. It's been a long day, a long week. But adding that information to the back cover and making it a little bit more prominent. So this is one way we were able to accomplish this. We also received some feedback about adding the customer service hours, address, as well as the website and phone number to both the front and back covers, which we also applied. There were also some conversations around including a list of stop numbers. We're still in the process of figuring out how to incorporate that into this type of document because space is limited and the size is currently relatively large. Is there a comment or question? Oh, small, sorry. Yes. And then we also, what are some of the seeing bus stops would be useful. Seeing it, and it is can be a little bit difficult to understand the full map in a small version. So some of these applications weren't necessarily applied to the ride guide. We did develop, in addition to this, a pocket guide, which I'll also be sharing in just a second, that we were able to incorporate a much larger map, so you're able to see where some of these connective points are, as well as some of the other frequency information was also one of the things that we aren't able to apply in the ride guide because of the amount of space the schedule tables take up, but we were able to do so in the pocket guide, which I'll be showing in just a second. Putting guides in the libraries. We also did receive a comment around this potentially being a waste of resources. We are mandated to provide some physical copy of rider guides or print materials for accessibility purposes. So we're looking at opportunities to navigate some of these things to make sure that we're still producing information that's useful for the rider. And this is kind of where the pocket guide comes in, especially for first-time riders that aren't used or familiar with how to use timetables, or kind of like picking up a mini pamphlet the size that the ride guide is, that's 56 pages folded in. And trying to understand and decipher that. So the pocket guide is a quick attempt to make it a little bit easier. And I think those are the big things for the ride guide. We are also, like I had mentioned to Nathaniel, going to try and build in some of this time throughout the ride guide process to allow for more DAC involvement and engagement. So the pocket guide in total is, I believe it's what is it, 9 by 17, 10 by 17? So it's a relatively large piece of paper, but each of the panels are broken down into about 3.5 by 5-inch panels. So on the entire one side of the folded guide is the map. So it's very, very much more visible and tactile, where you can actually see where, like I had mentioned, some of these connected points, endpoints, where it connects with either duplicative or supplemental service with WMATA, Fairfax connector, ART, so on and so forth. We did also receive a comment about the Pentagon trying to make this more visually identifiable, that our service goes all the way to the Pentagon. We're still in works to try and resolve this without necessarily covering up other map materials or map information. So this is something on our to-do table that we're still working on. But as far as the frequency, I do know that the top half is upside down. I'll rotate it so you can read that bit of information a little bit easier. But it's similar to the way that our the theory behind the Pocket Guide is to provide something that's a little bit more long-term and that doesn't update nearly as often as the Ride Guide. So currently we update the Ride Guide twice a year between February and August. We're also looking at opportunities to potentially update it on a more frequent basis, but still trying to figure out what that cadence is going to look like. So as you see, the Pocket Guide has similar, the cover is in this bottom right quadrant that opens or starts with the Pocket Guide, where it's the effective date. Some of the similar information to the Ride Guide with our social media information, our phone numbers, customer service hours. It also gives a little bit of an explanation of how to use the text 41411, how to identify a stop ID, what our bus stop signs look like, how to use that bus stop ID in both the text and our dash tracker, some of those how to find your bus information, holiday schedule, and then rotating the table. It shows some of that 7-day frequency, 7-day service, our 5-day service on the 102, 104, and 103 is up here. And we'll also be sure to give y'all physical copies of these. It's a little bit easier to digest when you have it in your hand. But yes, the text on this is much larger. So I think the smallest the text gets in our ride guide is about 7-point font, which for accessibility purposes is not ideal. We typically try in any print or digital materials, try to have it to between 8 as the bare minimum to 11, 12, if not higher. But you see these different frequency points between 10 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes for non-peak times, going back to the 10 to 20 minutes for peak times. It kind of varies from line to line, shows some of this frequency information to kind of not necessarily include all of that information in the ride guide, but provide a little bit of an intro opportunity for folks that are just quickly trying to glance and get some of this information. But yeah, and I don't want to keep talking at y'all. If y'all have any questions, happy to answer those. I'll also share this information in the follow-up email.
And I do want to say that at the April meeting, we're going to have copies of the ride guide as well as the pocket guide. And then the next ride guide is going to be August. So we have time to get some feedback, to work on it, to see what we can do to just improve it for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for walking us through the changes that were made, based on some of our feedback.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know I had feedback last time. It's great that you took that all into account. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So hearing no questions, unless and if there are any, I know that we're crunched for time, just 3 minutes over. I did want to leave a little bit of time. This is the final opportunity for nominations. If there are none, there could be a motion to, as we move to adjournment, a motion to reappoint the current sitting vice chair and chair, if that is of interest for any folks, if no nominations are present.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Okay, sounds like we have a motion. Do we want to do the vice chair, chair together, or is anyone thinking they want one or the other position? Doesn't sound like it, so we'll just do them together. I guess we'll just do hand raise again. So if you're comfortable, Jim, I didn't actually ask you if you're comfortable being the vice chair again for a year, but I am comfortable being the chair for an additional year.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah. All right. So moved.
Great job, team. Thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, thank you. Just in the interest of time, I think we'll adjourn here. But if you have any questions for me or the Dash professional staff, please feel free to follow up via email.
Thank you all so much for y'all's time, and apologies for running over.
Thank you guys for your time. Always appreciative of all the effort you guys put into putting together these meetings.
Keel, do you have
Thank you, everyone.
Do you have 2 minutes you can
Yeah,
stay?
thanks, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, I have a couple of minutes. I'm stopping the recording now, though.